everybody. Happy June as we get ready to get things underway. Talking a little bit of Michigan here on this first Monday of June. Hope everybody had a great weekend and we are ready to go. Sorry for the little bit of a delay there. Just getting ready to go and my computer froze and I just had to reboot it. I'm at the mercy of this thing just spinning and spinning and spinning, and I'm just sitting here waiting. And finally it happened, and now I'm ready to go. So thanks for your patience. If you were sitting there saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to give it a couple minutes," he's trying, he's waiting. Thank you very much. We have this month with the calendar turning. A lot of people's attention is turning towards recruiting. Now, there are plenty of people whose attention is number one, always on recruiting. So they're looking at like, where have you been? What are you doing? What are you talking about? No, I don't know if it's the majority of people or what. My attention maybe it now turns toward in earnest with recruiting. And there's definitely some targets that I was checking out this weekend, and a couple of those, one of those for sure, targets was in this weekend, and that's where we start this recruiting weekend for Michigan. So that's it. Thanks so much. Ferris is ready. He's ready to smash recruiting. He's talking about the freshman offers are going to be higher, which will result in a bigger, better pool of visits. There's the question. Is he making a statement or is he, he's doing both, asking a question because he says, are the freshman offers going to be higher? When you say offers, yeah, it's a fluid situation always when it comes down to NIL, paying players, pay to play, signing bonuses, upfront money. I think that Michigan, their game plan up to this point has worked out well. You could argue it with me. I mean, there's an argument to be made that it has not worked out well. I would argue that it has worked out well. I also, if you're somebody that has watched this podcast in particular, 2 years ago, there was a lot of hand wringing about admissions and the transfer portal. And there were a lot of people declaring that this is it. Michigan's going to get passed up. They're not paying any money and they're not able to get guys through for the transfer portal. This is the end of Michigan football. And I said, let's give it a little time. Let's just see what their plan is when it comes down to that. Well, since then, they've hit the transfer portal as well as anyone. They were able to get over the last 2 years, 19 players. And, there's three pieces when it comes to paying the players. You got to pay the players that are on your team to keep them. And this past season, Michigan, they did that. They paid the players. Last year, they had those who stay will get paid and be champions, and they did that. So retention, they did a great job. There's actually no argument there. The other part is going out. The piece is in the transfer portal. I just mentioned how they did that. Now this final is going into the high school ranks and how active they are going to be there. Let's see how, and I'm going to watch it unfold. If we're sitting here in a month from now and we're, am I going to be preaching like, oh, everything's fine, patience, and they're going to be stuck at a certain number? No, I would not, be in that frame of mind. But with all of that being said, let's go to it. So this weekend, they had a top offensive lineman in out of Las Vegas and Bishop Gorman, Douglas U2. Now, U2 is as good as it gets. U2 is a 5-star. U2 is one of the top 10 rated players by Rivals in the country. remember Sanders, the big offensive lineman that went to the same high school as Jaden Davis. He's not coming to Michigan, but this is the second ranked offensive lineman in the country to Sanders, and he was making the rounds in Ann Arbor. If I'm a Michigan fan, I got all eyes on you too. And with Michigan playing football like they do, running the ball, and getting offensive linemen to the NFL, the whole package. If you're an offensive lineman, I would think that Michigan would be an attractive place to go. I don't see any drawbacks. You could try to, and this is I'm sure there is a point to be made here. You could look over the last 5 years about the teams that are putting offensive linemen into the NFL or first round draft picks. And so maybe Michigan. So, but the style of play that Michigan has, and offensive linemen of course they want to go to the NFL. They want to go somewhere where they can be physical. They can do it all. And Michigan offers all of that. And this is a good test case with U2 if Michigan would be able to pull him about getting into the new age of recruiting and a different approach in recruiting. Not that Michigan has never been able to land a 5-star, but going out to Vegas in 2024 and pulling a 5-star offensive lineman. As recently as last year, you'd say, I wouldn't get my hopes up very much about U2 or anybody west of the Mississippi or south of the Mason-Dixon line. That's not happening. But this is one that I'm keeping my eyes on to see if Michigan is able to come away and get this commitment from U2. Now, here's a picture of Douglas U2 from this weekend. He is up in the enclosed seating area of the big house. There's a couple of nice things that I notice about this photo. One, if you're watching this on YouTube, if you look in the background, Michigan has their scoreboards up and it says 2023 national champs. I mean, not that you should actually expect that they're going to have the 23 national champs over there, but it's just another reminder here in the off season. Michigan was the champs playing that. In fact, everywhere you go into the practice facility. I can recall being in there a few times over the past couple months, and yeah, they've got some banners in there. They got the championship banners. That doesn't hurt. Now, you also have Grant Newsome, Michigan's new offensive line coach. He was tight end coach last year. Michigan's old offensive line coach and offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach, and Sharon Moore standing next to U2. The thing I notice about U2 is he's a big fella. He is a big fella. Does he dwarf Sharon Moore? I mean, he is as big as Sharon Moore, who is pretty big himself. 6'6", 300 pounds for U2. And does he look happy in this photo? He looks good. He looks, he get a little bit of a game face on, got a Michigan hat and a Michigan jacket and a Michigan shirt. And see, his family here has all Michigan stuff on. This looks like a Michigan leather jacket, as a matter of fact. I don't know how many of those I've seen around at all. Sharon likes this national championship pullover. And I have to admit that it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Looking pretty good on that. So it's not the biggest takeaway. There's a lot of takeaways from this weekend. There's a number of guys and figuring out, and then, it just continues on. They've got some midweek visitors and then looking ahead here, but this is as big as they get when it comes down to a ranked player and the 5-star offensive lineman, one that I'm going to be keeping tabs with. Now, Corey says no bidding wars. I don't know. Corey, it's a new game. So I don't know. Like, it all depends. They have their game plan. I don't know what the game plan is when it comes down to the high school players and the presentation that they're going to be making them. And then when it really comes down to the upfront money, if somebody came in and said, yeah, well, here's the number, we're like, I don't know. So when you say no bidding wars, there could be a bidding war, and Michigan might be prepared to be involved in a bidding war. Now, they don't have unlimited resources that they're just throwing over there, but the potential to have a pool of money. And if they did do that, I don't know if this is a game that they're going to get in. We're going to find out over these next couple of weeks, certainly over the next couple of months. And a 5-star is a very good test for that. And this would be one of the guys, if you were thinking about getting into a bidding war, this would be one of those guys that you would bid for. Oh, I think they would make their bid. If not, I even wonder why they would even, if, I was going to say, why would you even bring in the very highly rated players if you weren't going to play this game? And that's been something over the last couple of years that I had said, it's like, why are you even trying? Yeah, because that's a stupid thing to say, though. I mean, it's it's a complaining thing to say if you're a fan. Why are you even bringing a guy in if you know that you're not going to pay him? Well, because not every single guy, and they say a lot of the right things, and you feel, but at the end, a lot of times money is the thing that is, going to be a deciding factor. So you still have to, play the game and get in there. And so when you say no bidding wars, I say maybe that there could be a bidding war. Here's John getting into the quarterback, and we'll get to that coming up in a moment here. John saying all of these visitors this past weekend sound like they're going to take all of their official visits. Hopefully you have made an impression, or better yet, maybe we'll get some surprise commits on the spot. Yeah. Here's the thing, John, when you're talking about official visits and everything else, that is kind of early in the process, and players should take all of their official visits. The way guys, now I still think, if you get a commitment, those guys, are going to stay committed to Michigan. And I'll just say Michigan, I don't know, 95+% of the time, because people are sometimes, it doesn't mean anything if you get a commitment. It means you got you got a great chance of actually having him sign here. I do think, though, like now with the new rules, like it was, who's the kid from Belleville? Jeremiah Beasley. I mean, he committed, he signed, he came in early, and then he was at spring practice, and then he's like, peace, I'm out, for whatever, probably a combination of reasons, playing time, maybe money, whatever it is. But I'm not, I don't know how much you need to leverage any of these guys about, we want a commitment now or whatever. You do have to be a little bit patient there, but I know you'd like to have commitments. If I'm sitting here now, I would say, what's Michigan got, 4 or 5 commits? You'd like to say you'd like to double that by the end of June, and then you'd like to double that by the end of July, and that get you like at 20. It happens. I think it's going to happen. I'm not too worried. I know over the last couple of weeks, like, where's all the commitments? It does make people antsy. I do understand that. You do get a little antsy on that. Okay. Let's go to FK, who's asking a question if Michigan should have a high base salary for linemen to help solidify the offensive lineman or will all position groups have the same base salary? Well, in this hypothetical, FK, if let's say I have $10 million, it's a lot. I don't think that $5 million. I don't know. I'm going to say $5 million. If I have $5 million to divvy out to high school players, I am putting the majority of that money towards the quarterback position. That's who I want to get that money. After that, yeah, I'm gonna go to offensive line. I'm going to linebacker. It's I think a little bit or a lot like when you look at the franchise tags in the NFL. What are the positions that are worth the most money? Well, quarterback is far and away worth the most money. After that, who is it? Is it left tackle? Is it defensive end? I don't know, with the way that the wide receivers keep popping, and for Michigan, with like with Jefferson signing today, the wide receivers numbers are going way up. For Michigan, it's not. Anyway, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be committing a bunch of money to a wide receiver 5-star pool because of the kind of offense that they run. Now, that gets back to the quarterback position. Should they be going after dual threats and like these quarterbacks that they have? Are these guys pocket passers? You can change it up a little bit as you go. I think Michigan is pigeonholed a little bit into, well, they're just going to run the ball. Wide receivers like, no, I want to go somewhere where they're going to throw it all the time. Quarterback might be like, no, I want to go where I'm going to be able to, throw it all over the field. I mean, those are factors in there, but I'll stay with the idea that no, not all position groups are going to have the same base. So that's it. Yeah, hey, every little bit can count. Corey, offer good money, just don't go crazy like these other schools. Well, it all depends how much you have when you're talking about going crazy. And I feel pretty good in saying that I don't think that Michigan's going to be going crazy, even if they get the green light to offer a high school player some money. I don't think this is going to be next thing you know, you're going to be like, oh, they're just going to Michigan. They're just going to get the bag. Look at Michigan. They're like the U, or who are the other bag schools that come to mind? Any in the South almost, but certainly Miami, Florida would be in a Texas A&M, Texas automatically, Ohio State. I don't think Michigan's automatically going to be, thinking that they're going to be, bag you. So that's it. I think Sharon Moore going to be maybe 6'5", right? Mr. Martini talking about U2 and what are his other top choices? That's a good question, and one that I was thinking of myself, Mr. Martini, and here they are. So U2 has a top 6, including Michigan, where he was just at. He also is considering Alabama, Tennessee, Washington, Nebraska, and Oregon. A lot of Big Ten teams in there, plus Tennessee, plus Alabama. This does get back to your point. Like, if you're not going to play big boy ball, and when I say big boy ball, I'm just talking about paying. Are you going to weigh in? Because Tennessee, undoubtedly, I should have put Tennessee in the mix for a bag U. Tennessee's paying. Oregon should also be in that mix about teams that are definitely on the forefront of promising money to high school kids. You've got 2 of the top schools in there for you two that are going to be giving signing bonuses. So I'm guessing that's where it is. How could Michigan this weekend be in there with you two? And at some point, I know people don't like it, and I don't myself. If the first thing you two did in the family and they walked in and said, "How much are we getting? How much can we get right to it?" I would hope that would not be the approach of Camp U2. I would hope that they go through everything, and then when they're sitting down and they show the presentations, there's this idea that I have that U2, like, what about school? Wow, what about studying? And what are some of these departments? That would be like an amazing thing that that you think of if you're a Michigan fan and thinking about. But at some point, they are talking about NIL, and then you get to this piece about how much that you're going to have to cough up front and get to them. And what's Michigan ready to say? A top 10 player in the country? I just said that if I had a $5 million pool, you're going to have to, is Michigan going to have to give seven figures? I mean, these are all things that I'm just guessing with. We have seen some of the quarterbacks. The Tennessee quarterback got, what do you did, 5, 6, $7 million? Now, those the reports, and a little bit of that is guesswork, but I mean, if he really was getting two or three, why would it come out that he was getting 5, 6, or 7? I don't know. That's like the highest number that I've seen, and that was for a quarterback. I'm not saying that Michigan is giving 5 million to YouTube, but do I think $1 million? Yeah, I don't know. Is Michigan ready to do that? Is Michigan in the spot where they're like, all right, we got 1 million. Come on in. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. Couple 100,000, maybe. I don't know. It doesn't feel like Michigan's ready to talk $1 million. I don't know. That's just my feeling right now. I could be wrong about that. What you do want to do, if you're following all this step by step, and you want to know official visits, who's coming in this week, you want to get the feelings across the country and keeping tabs. If you like recruiting, this is the month that you should join the Maize and Blue Review. Let's just cut right to it. Recruiting is front and center. It is changing by the minute, and it is all happening all the time on the Maize and Blue Review. Join up by going to michigan.rivals.com. That keeps you up to speed, up to the moment on what's happening there. Yeah, basketball and constant debate and stories all day, all night about Michigan, but that's what you want to do if you want to get in there and know it all. Now, Michigan, for this class, they do have a quarterback already committed, and that is Carter Smith, the Gatorade Player of the Year out of Florida, Fort Myers. Nice area. 6'3", around 200 pounds. He is a dual threat QB, 4-star, pretty good for this upcoming season. And, he looks like he's from Florida. Let's say he looks like maybe Sunshine from, what's the movie? No, I'm not doing really well today on the movies, but yeah, hey, here he is, Carter Smith. Now, Michigan is after, if I skip ahead, that was 25. If you look ahead to 26, I've got two names for you in terms of quarterback. And I'm going right down there to Florida again. How about this signal caller? Brady Hart, 6'5", 185. He is a pro-style quarterback for 2026. He almost sounds made up because his name is Brady Hart. What better mix for a Michigan quarterback are you talking about, than Brady Hart? I guess you can call him, Henny Brady. I don't know, the Harbaugh Brady, but Brady in his name. It's a nice name, and Michigan really is in the mix here. Is this the QB that's Michigan? I was thinking about Michigan and Florida State for Hart and momentum, and he is coming into town. Hart is soon. Today is, what's today? The 4th, the 3rd. Today is the 3rd, and Hart in less than 2 weeks is coming in for a visit. And this is not for this upcoming season, but for the following year. you're talking about somebody that you would want to remember his name. Michigan is in, and you would think, I don't know, when you say full court press, sounds like you're looking for a commitment, but full court, like, hey, uh, whether you're the number one target, you're certainly right in there. Maybe they will say he's their number one target. I'm not sure of that, but that's because in a moment we look at Smigiel, Brady Smigiel. Again, you like the name Brady. Now, you also like the Stars, if you're like me, and they don't get much more star laden than Smigiel. Smigel's a 5-star from the 26 class. And if you look at the national rankings, he is the top ranked quarterback in the country, is Smigiel. Now, you go back, Hart is ranked 4 at his position. Not too shabby, but this is Numero Nuno, number 1. Numero uno. Number 1, Smigiel out of Cali. Woo, boy. Now, he's got a long list, as you expect, with the number 1 player ranked quarterback in the country. And how about it? Smigiel. Now, is Michigan really in the mix with Smigiel? He is listed along with a bunch of other schools. I have the list here. I'm going to say, do you want him? Of course you want him. Who's he dealing with? Well, he's probably dealing with a who's who, is going to be my guess. Let's see. Smigiel, Georgia, Penn State, Miami, Florida State, Oregon, North Carolina, LSU. Ouch. So yeah, there's going to be a host of teams. I don't know. He hasn't whittled it down to a top 5, but he is a name to remember, and he is coming in after Hart. He is coming in right before summer starts. Actually, it starts on the 21st. Smigiel will be here, the California kid, and the number 1 quarterback in 26. Now, you say that, Hart might be saying they might just be so into Hart that he is ready to commit, and then Smigiel, we'll see how all of that ends up playing out. But Hart coming in and Smigiel over the next 2 weeks, 2 of the top 4, with Smigiel being the number 1 quarterback in the country. You like quarterbacks and you like the future of Michigan football. That is the future of Michigan football. Carter Smith, Brady Hart, or Brady Smigiel. Now, these are the best laid plans. We'll see how that ends up playing out. It does get back to the NIL and the promises and all of that. That's why I'm letting this month breathe when it comes down to that. I am going to see what happens over the next few weeks, certainly this month and into July. If I am sitting here July 4th or there around, and we're, Michigan's, they don't have any traction anywhere, then I might at least, I'm not bringing the panic button out, but I'm just at least looking over it. And there's the panic button. Do I need to even reach over there? So I'm barely even talking about the panic button right now. Right now, I'm talking about what's up and who's in and what's going on there. So that's it when it comes down to it. You want some June thoughts? Johnny, I gave some thoughts this weekend over on the Den of the Maize and Blue Review. And number 1, this has been the best off season of Michigan football ever. I know, and I was going to say, I don't know if it's a fun argument to have. It is an argument to have. There can be a group of Michigan fans who are like, I've turned the page on the national championship. I'm all about this upcoming year. I'm about filling this class. Let's look at the depth charts. Let's get serious about the upcoming season. And I have no problem with that. we are creatures of habit, and each and every year, that's what you do. I don't know if you're breaking out your book yourself and writing out your too deep and doing the same thing with a spreadsheet when it comes down to recruiting or however you do it. And, you're focused on the upcoming season, as that's you, how part of the enjoyment of being a Michigan fan, of being a college football fan, scouring other teams and what they're saying, trashing them, meanwhile, or I don't know, online or wherever you do that. But whatever it is. But then there's the other group of like, look, Michigan just won a national championship. I'm just, I'm just basking here. And the season will be here before you know it. 90 days or whatever it is. And they'll play and life goes on, and you're as excited about the upcoming season when they hit the field and all of that. But it's different. It is a little bit different, and for me, I think age factors in. I doubt that there's somebody that's sitting around in their 20s just like, this is cool. This is it, man. I'm just chilling. But I do think the older you get, the more you're stopping and smelling the roses on this last championship. I started thinking about it myself. I was 26 the last time that they won. If they're that many years until the next time they win, I'll be like 80 years old or something. So I don't know. Yeah, that's part of it. There is a little bit more of the enjoyment of this offseason. It's been my favorite offseason since 97. And, to this point, in 89, when Michigan won the national championship in basketball, it was like, wow, this is pretty awesome. And then the Fab Five is coming in thinking, oh, maybe this is going to happen all the time. It's happened once. And now football, it's happened twice. Maybe it can be a little bit different. Remember the Titans. That's what I was thinking of. Sunshine. A little bit. Thank you. Who said that? Give him the. Thank you very much, Douglas. Douglas, you too. Douglas G is coming up with Remember the Titans. There you go. Funny thing about Remember the Titans, I remember the first time that I saw that movie, I was with two of my friends and I was at my apartment, and they were a little bit like skeptical of the movie, so skeptical that I can recall the one guy saying like, this is like going to be some after school special. This is not going to be a very good movie. And then we watched the movie, and I believe it's at the beginning it's towards the beginning of the movie. The guys are after practice and then in the shower and they're singing. And this guy, this is, this movie is no good. He might have got up and left, but it affected my viewing of that particular movie. I watched the whole thing, and if I was grading it out, I thought, it was all right. But then I don't know if it was a few years later, I went back and watched it, and it's like, I liked it a lot more. It's weird how who you watch, where and who you watch a movie with, even though you're just, right there on the screen, it affects you. It affects me. It happens. When I met my wife, she was like, well, what are your favorite movies of all time? And I said, well, The Deer Hunter is my favorite movie. I was telling her, she was like, Deer Hunter? I've never watched it. She watched it with me. Well, it's this gruesome war movie. She hated it. And it's a terrible, there's a terrible ending. The whole thing sad as could be. And she got done and she was like, I'm not sure I want to be with this guy if this is his favorite movie. But I could tell that she was not enjoying the movie. I should have picked a better movie. But that's not my favorite movie anymore. I like it. But it was because I was so young and I watched it. It stayed with me all of those years. All right, I am sidetracked on that. Let's take some feedback. So that's where I'm at. A lot of recruiting now on the podcast over these next 2 months for sure. If there's something going on with the team, we'll be hitting on that. But, the focus today, quarterbacks and the big 5-star offensive lineman in Douglas U2. That's where I'm sitting about. That's what I'm thinking about. That's where I'm sitting right now. Let's see where the people are at. You have a question in a couple more minutes here. Let's address it. What's the top of mind for you as a Michigan fan? Let's see. Corey wants these young men to get their money. Just some of them don't come to play after they get their money. Yeah, sure. Sure they do. It's weird. You're playing. How many guys would get into, you play football and play sports when you're young? Yeah, it probably is different now. Are guys in high school already thinking about, yeah, I'm going to cash in and then that's it? But it is one of the thing that you've always thought about over the years. When a guy's going pro, you don't know how a guy's going to react when he gets 6, 7 figures at 18 years old in his bank account. I'd be like, yeah, football, I'm all set. That's part of it. You got to deal with that. You got to deal with that now. Let's see. If Smigiel goes G mode, is that good or bad? I don't know what that means, John. I'm sorry about that. Rashad says, I'm very pessimistic about a top quarterback coming here. Completely understandable there about being pessimistic about that. I understand the pessimism about that. If Michigan's going to be able to attract, I would be also pessimistic about the top wide receivers. So that's why I look towards the offensive linemen or the edges, and you go from there. But it's not just about paying the upfront money, right, Rashad? It's also about the style of football that Michigan is playing. So there it is, and that's going to be one of those things that you got to wait when the rubber hits the road. Let's see what they're able to do there. OT prefers a dual threat instead of a statue pro style quarterback. So you would rather have Lamar Jackson than somebody like Tom Brady. I don't know. Look, if it's coming down to it, do I want a dual threat quarterback or do I want a pro style quarterback? I want the competitor. I want the better of the two, but there's drawbacks with both. I mean, you're talking about being a statue back there. I'm talking about getting hurt. You could say, well, statue quarterbacks can get hurt too. Also, it just tends to go this way. Pro style quarterbacks are guys that can whip the ball all over the yard and make all of the throws. They're not many that are dual threats that have a live arm. There are not many Lamar Jacksons or Josh Allens out there that can do it both on the ground and through the air. And it takes some time. So, there's drawbacks with both of them. Let's continue on with some feedback. The feedback savant, formerly known as Andres, is hitting the panic button because we haven't got any forecasts from me. Well, I forecasted I will be making a forecast this month. I'm just not ready to make any forecast. I'm not ready to make a forecast on YouTube or either of those quarterbacks right now. So let's dive in. And Andres, let's make one when we feel like we have the intelligence to make one. Let's just not make a forecast just to make one. Let's go back to the feedback here, and we have John. Dennis, don't you, Ohio State, proclaimed themselves the offseason national champs? How could Michigan have a good offseason with OSU raising the banner? Yeah, I don't know if they've proclaimed it. Others have proclaimed it. They've had a great off season, so the fact about Ohio State being able to have a portal championship and then a recruiting championship, and they've had multiple recruiting championships over the past few years, and now they have a portal championship. Those are really nice to have in the off season. They make you feel good. Not so good when you're 0-3 against Michigan. It's the tables have turned. I mean, it's so glorious. All of those years, and it was going on. It looked like there was no way, Michigan was ever going to beat Ohio State. Michigan could not get a quarterback to beat Ohio State, and then Ohio State just kept getting them and getting the quarterbacks and getting the great recruits. But Ohio State is always gets great players, and then some coaches like John Cooper just fold in the big games. And Ryan Day, Ohio State fans know this. Ryan Day is either going to win a national championship this year, or he is going to lose to Michigan and get fired. I mean, look at this guy. Could be one of the most decorated and winningest coaches, multiple championships in his future, or he could get fired this year. That's what's going on with Ohio State. That's what's on the table for Ohio State. I like the pressure cooker that Ohio State is in. And I tell you, Michigan goes out there and beats Texas in week 2. There are going to be a lot of people that said they're ready for Ohio State. They're ready for Michigan to go 4-0. They're ready to put Ryan Cooper out the pasture. And all those things can happen. So there you go. No, that's not it. Let's see. Rashad. Dennis, never let people's opinions of a film affect you. Folks hated on Shawshank when it came out in 94, and now it's the greatest movie ever. Yeah, that's true, Rashad. You got to take it in yourself. You do have to do that. I can't help myself. I also, whether it's word of mouth or just Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of times I'll look through and it's like, wow, 90% score. And then sometimes I'm watching it. So, I try not to let the ratings and things like that affect me, but it does happen still. Having said that, it looks like a Western movie that Kevin Costner is, I've seen the previews a couple times this weekend. It's coming out next month or something. That's the big one that I'm looking forward to this summer. Now, I'm looking forward to the big offensive lineman from Las Vegas committing to Michigan more than anything, but I'm looking forward to that Western movie with Costner in there. Has there been a bigger staff upgrade the last couple of years than Kirk Campbell replacing Weiss? Recruits seem to love Campbell. Yeah, well, I don't really get into this game too much. I don't know. Like, Matt Weiss was here, and Michigan did good things with Weiss. But if there was going to be a knock on it, it was like Weiss, so he didn't love recruiting. But when he was here, people were like, "Oh, this guy loves analytics. This guy, he can draw up." And so it's easy to kick guys, especially the way Weiss departed. But Campbell's done a nice job. So, but I don't know about the bigger staff upgrade. I'm not sure of that. There's a lot of people that say that, but I don't know, John. Maybe it is. Steve says, why do you think they have struggled on the recruiting trail? I don't think that they have necessarily struggled on the recruiting trail. If you're in the top 15, if you're in the, what were they, 12 or 13 last year? I'll answer the question. I don't think that they have that they have gone into the pay for play mode over the last few years. It is the hill that they have died on for the last 20 years, that they were not going into that area, that they were not going to do it. Well, they are getting pushed, screaming, and drags kicking and screaming into you have to give the players upfront money. It is so obvious now. Even the NCAA is like, yeah, we're not doing anything when it comes down to this. All of the lawsuits are out there. It's like, yeah, go out there, get as much money as you can. It's totally legal. You'll lose any kind of lawsuit against it, and the NCAA is not going to do anything against it. Michigan's finally like, no. Are we in now? I mean, recall 2 years ago, Steve, Jim Harbaugh, a lot of the other schools were already like, hey, we're going to go. Harbaugh was like, no, we're not going to be transactional. Whoa, didn't like that. Harbaugh's like, I don't know about giving high school kids money. It's going to affect the balance of the team, which, it's a long conversation to have about how it could affect the team. I thought immediately when he said that I disagreed with him. And I thought about an NFL team bringing in a rookie, a first-round draft pick. These guys, like Aiden Hutchinson, you remember the Hard Knocks, where he went out and was singing Billie Jean. Well, all of the draft picks would go up there, and they all would talk about how much money they got guaranteed, and you'd have old Rodrigo was up there. He's like, I got 1.5 million. Everybody's like, hey, 1.5 million. Aiden Hutchinson was up there. He's like, 65 million. Everybody, whoa. Well, but I think Harbaugh's point was the team at that point bringing in the guys that were juniors and seniors who were not getting any money. And then right when it started, were you going to start giving guys, a couple 100,000, bring them in there when the juniors and seniors are like, well, where's mine? If you were going to pay then, you were going to have to pay everybody. I think now Michigan understands all the players are getting paid. All of the players, Michigan, I don't know how much they had to fork over, but they had to fork over a lot to retain the players that they have. And so now I don't think about disrupting the chemistry about paying a high school player, but that's why. That's why they've, quote unquote, struggled with, because the recruits that have earned their ranking overall, there's a certain dollar amount next to it. And those guys in almost every walk of life, in almost every instance, when you're a free agent in sports, a player goes to where the most money is. Almost every time. You want to start making cases like, oh, this guy was chasing a ring? Sure. Most of the time, almost every time in those cases, guys have already made hundreds of millions of dollars, so they might settle for a hometown discount or going somewhere to chase a ring. You get all of that. This is the first time. And when I hear people say, oh, these guys are chasing money, well, what do you, that's what everybody does. Everybody in every walk of life and every athlete, they all take the biggest money. That's what you do. Not everybody, but most everybody. LG. Some of these contracts should be based on performance on and off the field. Well, you're getting into a spot. I always hear that in sports too. That all sounds good, LG, but just not a reality. Go ahead. Go ahead and tell you two that, hey, you two, if you come in and after a year of redshirting, you are on the field and then you're starting for Michigan in 2 years and you make all conference, well, then we will pay you X amount of dollars in 2 years. And U2's Tennessee's like, hey, U2, here's $2 million. We'll give this to you next week. And Michigan's talking about, well, on performance-based, if you start in 2 years, we'll give you X amount of dollars. I mean, like, that sounds good, but that's not reality. Old Timer 56 is welcoming all Michigan recruits. We hope you enjoy your stay. We would be honored for you to become part of Michigan Nation. Let's go. I'm with you on that. John says Elvis Gerbach was the ultimate Michigan statue. His dad referred to him as the giraffe when he tried to run. And old Elvis, he had a pretty decent NFL career. Oh, it's been months since we've heard from Hadley, since the football season. Hadley says, how do you feel about possibly football eliminating walk-ons? I think it's a bad idea. Well, Hadley, this is college football protecting itself from itself. If you say, yeah, you can have walk-ons, like right now, you can have walk-ons. Michigan could give out 100 scholarships right now. And they could, after whatever the allotment is of actual scholarships, they would just pay in NIL money. Michigan could have 200 players on their roster. It's like we used to count the players in the 85 scholarship. Well, Michigan was rewarding all of the guys from last year, from those who stayed, and they were just, the roster size was enormous. Well, here's the thing. Michigan, no school wants to pay all of these players and pay the walk and pay everybody. They don't want to pay everyone. And so you have to put it's putting a cap on yourself is what's going on here. I think when they get to the collective bargaining agreement portion of it, this is going to be one of those things that they will look at and they will say they will have a roster number on it. Notice that they don't right now, so you can do whatever you want. And sure, yeah, it's as a fan, you look at it and you say, oh, Brian Greasy was a walk-on, and Jordan Kovacs is one of my favorite players of all time. He walked on, and he was a captain. Well, those things aren't happening anymore. Greasy really was promised a scholarship, but he would be getting, in today's game, those guys would be getting paid. They want you to walk on and not get paid. And so that's why they're doing it. It's a money situation, was what's going on. So all of those coaches that were crying about it down at the SEC media days, they understand what's going on. LG wants to recruit kids who really want to go to Michigan. Don't waste time chasing 5 stars who are just looking for the bag. Yeah, I think that's past thinking, Loring. I don't think you can think that way in 2024. Because if I change this around a little bit, all 5 stars are looking to be fairly compensated. All 4 stars are looking to get fairly compensated. So what you're saying is only recruit kids who want to go to Michigan and don't want to be fairly compensated. It's like a little Pollyannic. I know there's a lot of people that are like, Loring's got it. That's exactly right. It's not reality. Should Sharon Moore just want to coach Michigan just because he loves Michigan and only accept $100,000 as the head coach, and the other $5 million or whatever he's getting paid, it could just go to the athletic department or whatever? No, that's not the way that it works. And before, that was all stuff that sounded good when you weren't paying the players and they weren't getting money, and they weren't semi-professionals. Now they are. They should. This is just not, I think you just need to adjust the way you're thinking. It doesn't mean you're a bad kid. If you have a ranking and you have teams that are like, look, I'll give you $1 million. The other ones, I'll give you $2 million. And you're like, man, I love Michigan. I just want to go to Michigan. You're going to go play for free? Yeah, it's not the reality anymore of what's going on. We could sit around talking about a bunch of examples that way, not happening. GMA. Most highly rated quarterback nowadays are hybrids between dual threat and pocket passer. JJ was not a true dual threat, but he was no statue either. I think that's an excellent point. To play the position nowadays, a quarterback needs to be able to be an athletic guy who can move around in the pocket, not necessarily looking to tuck it and run, but does have to have the ability to move. I was thinking about some of the NFL quarterbacks. Let's just look at the NFC North. Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not a hybrid. He is old school pocket passer. Stand there, and luckily he has an excellent offensive line, a running game, and a tremendous amount of receivers and tight ends that are fantastic, and he can deliver the ball to them. So he is a throwback, statuesque quarterback. Jordan Love is the kind of quarterback that you're talking about. Jordan Love is he can run it, but you would say that if I was just looking at him, I would say that he is a pro style quarterback. He is a tremendous athlete, plays a lot like Aaron Rodgers, who was like a dual threat quarterback. JJ's the other one you just mentioned, and then Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams can deliver the ball from the pocket, but he's a hell of an athlete and can run around too. So good point there from GAM. We'll take, we'll take the rest of the comments here. Mr. Martini. He loves how the Ohio fan base is always ready to throw Ryan Day in a vat of boiling oil. That goes with the territory down there. Whatever happened to Matt Weiss? Well, once the FBI raided his house and whatever the computer crime was, he is he's unhireable. He can't get a job in college football. I don't know. I don't know if there was resolution from that. I don't know whatever happened. As he still has is there still a possibility of punishment legally? For his. I don't know about that. That's a good question. JP, where's he been? He's been very busy traveling for work. Yeah, well, we really miss you. Thanks for checking in. When there are folks, I appreciate when people come in and leave their thoughts on the chat and talk Michigan football. But there's some folks who do it more frequently than others. And Jason was one that you could almost count on, if not every show, certainly every week, he would be in and making a number of different comments. Well, then he's just been gone for 3 months. I was almost ready to, go to Georgia and start searching for him, see what happened. OT. Michigan had the reverse SMU problem. They weren't paying current players and couldn't offer incoming freshmen. Even kids who took money when it was illegal weren't bad kids. I would agree with you on that. Mark, who always is making good points, he's talking about Fran Tarkington. When I think about Fran Tarkington, I think about, what was that show? Everybody Loves. I don't know. He did a show when I was young. It was a kind of nice light show. Was it about animals, maybe? Your favorite animal? Here's the zoo. I'm not thinking of it. But watching the video, and who was the quarterback before Fran? Was it Cap? Cap and Fran Tarkington. And if I'm a Vikings fan and I'm old enough, I'm not old enough to remember Fran Tarkington or Joe Cap, but I've seen video of both of those guys. That's JJ. JJ is a Fran Tarkington, Joe Cap type QB, isn't he, Mark? Give me 1 minute even before I look. Everyone's amazing. Life is amazing. It's close to that. Everything is great. What the hell? What kind of name is that for a show? Come on, give me that Fran Tarkington show. Everything is great with the Animal Kingdom. That's too long of a name. I don't know why I'm saying animal. That's amazing. How about That's Amazing? Was it called That's Amazing? Nobody remembers. Okay, couple more. Good afternoon, everyone. There you go. Let's see. Mark says he saw on YouTube someone who says was asked for sure who needs to make the playoffs, and the guy said Georgia. Sure, terrible if they miss, but OSU missing the playoffs would be an apocalypse in Columbus. Playoffs? I mean, they have to win it all. Playoffs? If I'm they have to. Ohio State has to beat Michigan, and they have to win the national championship. Chima disagrees. JJ is a true dual threat. Caleb Williams is a true dual threat. Dual threat quarterbacks are hybrids. The extremes are option quarterbacks versus statue quarterbacks. All right. I'll buy, when I say I'm buying both. JJ is a modern quarterback like these guys, but you want to say there are dual threats. The thing about JJ is you could make the case. We don't know how hurt he got with his either knee or ankle in that Penn State game. If I go back, and I've only watched the Penn State game and Ohio State game, it's like these are like movies that I have seen once and loved so much, and I'm just going to wait for the day. I thought it would be here in the offseason that I would relive those games and watch them over and over again, but I have not done that. But if I recall, in the first half against Penn State, it was a 3rd and 10, JJ took off and ran. It was a big play for Michigan, and then shortly thereafter, he got hurt, and then, of course, no throwing, and then he did not throw and move around a lot. I think it affected him. Obviously, the second half of the Penn State, the Maryland game, I think the Ohio State game, he was getting a little bit better. So he was banged up when it comes down to that. David Sanders seems to be the word. I've given up on David Sanders. I thought that he was as good as gone, probably to Ohio State or Georgia, but that's it. Mark says that Fran ran away from was the best in history. Hadley. Thank you, Hadley. That's incredible. What did I settle on? That's amazing. I feel like I should get some kind of credit for that. Reminds me of watching the new Jeopardy where they're having all of the superstars come back, and on a normal Jeopardy, I might be able to get I don't know. I'll say 5, but sometimes 10. Especially the easy, the 200 ones. I'm over here. I'm pretty good, but man, the 2.0 or whatever the experts, I'm like getting nothing. These guys. And I'll tell you, I don't know if it's just you, but it throws me off, and I don't like it. Where they have the board, and you have the 200, the 400, the 600. I don't like it when they go, I'll take for 1,000. Like, come on, go in order. I know they do that to throw their opponents off. It throws me off. If I ever went on a game show that was like Jeopardy and it was 2, 4, 6, and Hadley was there and Hadley came up, give me Michigan football for 1,000. That's going to throw me off, Hadley. That's incredible. Tiger Woods was on That's Incredible. That's it. Kathy Lee Crosby was on that show. I don't recall what Kathy Lee Crosby looked like, but it was like a 5 or 6 year old. I remember thinking, Kathy Lee Crosby looks pretty good, which is weird. Don, thank you. Yeah, hit that like button. Smash that like button. Dennis, OSU is cheating. Speak up. Who isn't cheating in college football, JSE? I mean, it is a sport rife full of cheating. All teams cheat. Every team's cheating. So what Ohio State's cheating how? Cheating like what they're paying recruits? So's everybody else. Now, to your point, Ohio State's been paying, and other teams have been paying recruits long before this year when they said that you could or they weren't going to do anything about it. And they've been doing it for as long as I've been watching football. So you could say OSU has always been a bunch of dirty cheaters. I'd say, all right. And then now they're just doing it like everybody else. But I mean, cheating how? Yeah, they're a bunch of dirty, rotten cheaters. They've always been that way. But you're allowed to be a dirty, rotten cheater now. I don't know. Like, if you're a real dirty team, like right now, what are you doing that makes you dirty? Because paying, like, so for my lifetime, I was like, oh, those teams, they're giving the bag away. That was always, since the computer came around. The first Michigan fan, that the first recruit that was lost, somebody said they're taking the bag, and it was like, oh, that's what everybody says when Michigan loses out on a recruit. Well, that's not cheating anymore, and I'm thinking, hoping that Michigan is paying prep players now. Are they not doing that? Do we not want that to happen? Now, look, last year at this time, if you talk to alums that were like, well, let's no, let's not pay upfront money because technically that is illegal. Well, in a year's time, we've had all of these different lawsuits, the antitrust and everything else, where the courts are saying, no, you can pay the high school players. And they're like, well, what about the rule that's actually with the NCAA? And the NCAA came out and said, at this time, we are not pursuing any rule breakers or anything. However they put that, I forgot that. I mean, if there's no more green light right now, then the antitrust of the NCAA saying, nope, we're good. And the NCAA used to, as of last year, like, they were all into like transfers. They would look over, and some they were rubber stamping, and other ones they're like, no, we're not going to let you transfer. They lost that last week. So you can what the NCAA doesn't have anything to do. You know, JSE, oh, you'll have to let me know. OT has complete faith that Michigan will have a recruiting class full of really good football players. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having just faith in Michigan. That's not a bad approach, actually. OT, just have faith in the coaching staff and hope. Now, so on the other side, you could say faith and hope are fine things, but they're not strategies, but I mean, we're fans. Mark talking NIL. The gap between 3 and 5 stars is shrinking. Note the FPI 5 and 15 really far closer to the teams in the 50s because of so many good players. Very deep in the Power 5, Power 4 now. What? Not elite, but competitive. Very deep. Between 3 and 5 stars. Yeah, I mean, this is the age-old thing. I want all 5 stars, but 3 stars that that the staff can look at, and they might not look at them as 3 stars, and the ability to develop them, all of those kind of things that go into it. The gap has closed between 3 and 5 stars. I don't know. I mean, like, some years, that's a tough one to come through. I'm like kind of talking it out, Mark. I got to think about that one. And if the gap in your argument is that the football percentage index, is that what you're using? I don't like the football percentage index, but you're looking at from 5 to 15 is really closer. JSE is back. And I lost what he was saying in the media and in the Big Ten offices. I don't know what that is referring to. Ohio State couldn't beat us with CJ Stroud. How will they beat us with Howard? It's interesting that you bring up Howard, and I have thought that Howard, the quarterback, the transfer from Kansas State, is a much better quarterback than most Michigan fans. They look at Howard, they're like, this guy's a joke, or they should have kept the guy from last year, McCord. He's going to be better. That's kind of like a lot of Michigan fans say that. I don't know if they all have made it up themselves, or if there's somebody that talks Michigan said that, and people have just jumped onto that. But I go back to having watched Will Howard play the Big 12 championship against Duke. It was Dugan. Was that the guy's name for TCU? That was a tremendous game that came down to the wire, and Will Howard played tremendous in that game. And so did Dugan. Man, these guys were just like, it was a fabulous game, and the Kansas State Wildcats ended up winning it. And I was like, man, that Howard. So this is the guy that I watch. I was listening to this college station on Sirius, and Rick Neuheisel was one of the hosts. And Neuheisel started talking about Howard, and he started talking about that Big 12 championship game. And he said, I saw a guy that, and I was nodding my head because that's what I saw. He's like, I saw a guy that looked like he could lead a team to a championship. What a tremendous game. And I'm nodding. And then he said, I also saw Will Howard play on a Friday night against Oklahoma State. And he threw a pick six, a couple other picks. He looked like he shouldn't even be a starting quarterback at Kansas State. And I thought, whoa, that's I had thought about that. So I don't know, Will Howard, maybe he's the hot and cold. Which Will Howard we're going to get? Now, I didn't actually go and look at that game against Oklahoma State to see which one he was talking about, but I mean, he was so emphatic that, man, yeah, you get the Will Howard against TCU in that championship game, you're doing pretty good if you're Ohio State. You get that Will Howard that took on Oklahoma State and was complete garbage. Which one is it? Yes, transfers are unlimited now. That's it. Mr. Martini taking a shot at Ohio State, calling them Ohio first off. That's always a good start if you want to take a shot at Ohio State. Call them Ohio. Ohio has been cheating as long as that scumbag AD has been there. I don't know, you're referring to Gene Smith? I don't know. Ohio State has always been to me like, even though they're in the Big Ten, they're so far south. It has always felt like they were just an SEC team playing in the Big Ten. And SEC teams they were always playing with by a different set of rules. And I have some friends there. They've always said nobody cares about teams, players getting paid. For 50 years they've been saying that. You guys worry so much about paying the players. Why don't you just do it? And Ohio State was so far south. They were just like, we're kind of in the SEC. Let's do it. That's been one of they get a great recruiting base in the state of Ohio. That really helps them. Plus, they never thought of paying players as a barrier. They never considered themselves. They're like, the players deserve the money. Just give it to them. Everybody in the SEC is doing it too. And if everybody's doing it, why do you care? I mean, that's been I think they're long standing. You can correct me. Some Ohio State fans are probably watching this. I mean, like, you don't care that they're paying players. So that's it. I don't know about just since Gene Smith. I think it's been long before that. Here's KR. Looks like somebody new. We really need recruits to commit that just visited. Hopefully we can get all 3 Bishop Gorman kids. Yeah, well, that sounds great. I don't agree with this K6R. That sounds good. We need the recruits to commit. I mean, ultimately, sure. Let's get a couple of those guys to commit, but they don't need to commit soon. Just hopefully they can get them. I don't think I just got to get a commitment. Gabe thinks that Roebuck is a diamond in the rough. The offensive line class that is coming in this year, Guinara, the center from who was in for spring, he looks good. This as much as we talk about what happened in recruiting and Michigan wasn't a top 5 class last year, the guys that were in for spring, that class last year looks really good. And Guinera, and we'll find out about Jaden Davis. We'll see about the running backs and the wide receivers, but all of those guys on the offensive line a couple of those guys, that's Michigan's sweet spot. And then on the defensive side, I know they lost Beasley, but I don't know, Cole Sullivan and in 33, Dominic Nichols. I mean, those guys both look like they could be future stars. I think everyone's pretty high on last year's class. And here's the thing about recruiting again, and this might be a point to what Mark had to say. 2 years ago, we complain about recruiting every year, and then Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, those guys should have been 5 stars. I mean, I don't know the guys that were evaluating them or everything else, but right off the bat, Mason Graham came in right away and started for Michigan. Now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but they had Michigan already. It's not like Michigan had big time injuries or something up there. Michigan had Mozzie Smith and Chris Jenkins and Rashawn Benny. I mean, they were stacked. And Mason Graham came in. He's like, no, he's not a 5-star. Boom, he's out there. He's Mason Graham starting from week 1. Kenneth Grant, a gift from the football gods, as Harbaugh like to say on that. Couple more. We got more about Ohio State being cheaters. He's so glad that McCord got chased. He's pretty good. Yeah. Will Howard wouldn't start for Michigan, and our room is up in the air. Yeah. Howard isn't even close to CJ Stroud, Dennis. Oh, well, I'll agree with you there. Okay. Yeah, like I'm saying, Howard can look great like he did in the Big 12 championship game. He can look terrible, apparently, like he did against Oklahoma State. But yeah, CJ Stroud is a great quarterback. Actually, CJ Stroud played well against Michigan in those 2 years. It was his, what was it, last year? He wasn't the quarterback. So we're going to the 2 previous years. He lost in 21 and 23. 21, the whole thing about he didn't like the snow. He was a little sick and it was a little cold and everything. But Michigan was at home and it was snowing and their offensive line took over the game. And so did Haskins and Hutchinson had like one of the best games ever. So, Stroud was still pretty good. And some hell of wide receivers out there. And then, at Columbus, I put a lot of that on Ryan Day. There were in a number of situations where it was 4th and 2, 4th and 3, close to the 50, and he was punting the ball. He went into a shell. I'd be upset if I was an Ohio State fan with Ryan Day, with how he coached that game in Columbus 2 years ago. Well, that's it. Let's see. JSE talking more about how Ohio State cheats. They cheat with the Big Ten offices, with officiating, with scheduling, with investing other programs. They have a plant. Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Ohio State. I'll just leave it there. Yeah, they're a bunch of cheaters. But I mean, I don't agree with all that. But what am I going to do? Stand up for Ohio State? That's it. I'm not standing up for them. So I'm just going to move on. Brady Hoke calling them Ohio used to crack me up. I agree with that. And Brady Hoke's lasting impressions, as time at head coach, it doesn't matter how long we live. Calling Ohio State Ohio would be one of them. Unfortunately, not wearing a headset would be the other one. Maybe saying, he had a little boo-boo, little ouchie or something. Andres, unlimited transferring is unhealthy for the players. It is intended for their benefit, but it's mostly going to backfire. Well, I think there's probably some truth to that. Sticking it out as a young man at the school, but the thing about having constraints, it's like these coaches. If they want to move and go to another team, they can do it. Poof, they're gone. And they'll do it. They'll be on the sideline for a bowl game, and there'll be reports, and then after the game, they'll be all upset. Don't ask me about that. And then the next day they're gone. Well, the players get that same right. And I agree with you that it's not great. It's great for the kid if they want to go, but yeah, it's I mean that's just the times we're in, Andres. If they would have had unlimited transfers for as long as we've been watching college football, who knows how it would look? Tom Brady would have transferred from Michigan if that was the case. The new OSU AD is the shadiest AD in college. A lot of fans in Canada, especially the Toronto area. Who's got a lot of fans in the Toronto area? What are we talking about here? Okay, couple more. We have done better with less than we have more. Okay. What would be the reaction if there was a loss to Fresno in week one? Well, JSC would be something that I haven't considered, but it would be as bad as you could think of right now, and then times it by 10. I mean, that would be terrible. What was it like in 2007 when Michigan lost to Appy? How did you feel then? Appy State. That's how it would feel losing the Fresno State. It does remind me now. Now Notre Dame is in a better program than Fresno State, but when Michigan won in '97, they lost their first two games in '98. They went to Notre Dame, got beat, and they lost to Syracuse. They went 0-2. Or no, it wasn't Syracuse. It was oh yeah, it was. It was Syracuse. So it would be really bad. But I don't want to end the show on thinking about, what if Michigan lost to Fresno? What if Michigan I have been it's fine. I like to hear from the people. I have been more in the line of thinking of what if Michigan beats Texas? And that is the key to the season right now. That is the key to making everyone feel good about Alex Orgy, the rest of the Michigan offense, Michigan vaulting into the top 5, Michigan ripping off 7 wins, 8 wins in a row before they play Oregon then at home. Michigan then being able to go down to Ohio State and pop the Buckeyes. Michigan maybe getting a bye in the new college football playoff format. All of it is, to me, set up for September the 7th when Michigan plays Texas. That's the one that I'm thinking about. Not so much thinking about what if they dropped the opener. So, but I appreciated JSE dropping the opener. How about beating Texas? Then what will happen? Appreciate your thoughts. And sorry it took me a couple minutes to get in. It was my computer froze up, but it's good to go now. We'll talk with you on Wednesday. Former Wolverine Jim Scarcelli will join us. Please tell folks here in the off season. We love talking Michigan football. We bring it in the off season. And if you like recruiting, this is going to be the place to be, as we'll be talking about it throughout the summer. And the place to be, as you know, is over on the Maize and Blue Review. That's where I'll be on the Den. We'll see you there. Until Wednesday, everybody have themselves a great day. Thanks for watching. Thanks for contributing. All of that. See ya.